To understand the Taiwan-China standoff, we need to revisit 1949, when the Chinese Civil War ended. The Communists, led by Mao Zedong, took control of mainland China. The defeated nationalists, led by Chiang Kai-shek, fled to Taiwan and established the Republic of China. Both sides claimed to be the legitimate government of all China, creating a painful split. For Beijing, Taiwan is the last piece of unfinished business, a symbol of national pride and historical justice. Chinese leaders from Mao to Xi Jinping have vowed to reunify Taiwan with the mainland by force if necessary. This fuels intense nationalism in China. The United States plays a complicated role. After initially recognizing Taiwan, the U.S. switched recognition to Beijing in 1979. Yet the U.S. passed the Taiwan Relations Act, promising to help Taiwan defend itself. This strategic ambiguity keeps China guessing about U.S. intervention. For Beijing, any move toward Taiwanese independence or increased U.S. support is a red line. For Taiwan's 23 million people, the story is different. They've built a vibrant democracy and see themselves as Taiwanese, not Chinese. Most want to maintain their autonomy and resist Beijing's authoritarian rule. This is the heart of the conflict, China's historical claim versus Taiwan's desire for self-determination. The U.S. tries to balance support for Taiwan with managing its relationship with China. This delicate status quo has kept the peace, but it's fragile. Any shift by Taiwan, China, or the U.S. could spark a crisis. The standoff is about more than territory, it's about identity, legitimacy, and the future of the region. The world watches closely, knowing the stakes are global. The Taiwan issue is a flashpoint where history, nationalism, and geopolitics collide. The choices made here could shape the 21st century. The roots of this standoff run deep, and the conflict remains unresolved. The question is, for how much longer? Look at a map, and you'll see why Taiwan and the Philippines matter. They anchor the first island chain, a strategic barrier stretching from Japan to Borneo. For China, this chain blocks access to the Pacific and global trade routes. Controlling Taiwan would give China a direct gateway to the Pacific and threaten U.S. bases in the region. The Philippines, just south of Taiwan, sits by the Bashi Channel, a choke point for global shipping. Disruption here would cripple world trade. For the U.S. and its allies, keeping these sea lanes open is vital. These islands are like stationary aircraft carriers, offering military advantage to whoever controls them. China is rapidly building its Navy and Air Force to dominate these waters and deter U.S. intervention. The U.S. is strengthening alliances with the Philippines and Japan, ensuring access and influence. The geography turns these islands into both prizes and flashpoints. The contest for control makes the region one of the world's most dangerous. Every move is watched, every alliance tested. The stakes are high economic security, military power, and regional stability. Geography is destiny in the Indo-Pacific, and the world's attention is fixed on these islands. Taiwan's global importance isn't just about location, it's about microchips. The world's most advanced semiconductors are made by one company, TSMC. Over 90% of cutting-edge chips come from Taiwan, powering everything from smartphones to fighter jets. This silicon shield makes Taiwan indispensable to the global economy. If TSMC's factories were disrupted, the economic shock would dwarf recent crises. China relies on these chips, but so does everyone else. The US and others are scrambling to build their own chip industries, but it will take years. For now, Taiwan's security is an economic issue for every major country. China may still risk conflict, but the cost would be global depression and technological chaos. The world's dependence on Taiwan is a double-edged sword, deterring war but also raising the stakes. As long as TSMC dominates, Taiwan's fate is tied to the world's prosperity. The microchip is the new oil, and Taiwan is the well. The piece of a small island holds the key to the global economy. That's why everyone is watching. The Indo-Pacific's tensions are shaped by a web of treaties and laws. The US and the Philippines have a mutual defense treaty. An attack on one is an attack on both. Recently, the US clarified this includes Philippine vessels and forces in the South China Sea. Taiwan's situation is murkier. The US-Taiwan Relations Act promises arms and support, but not direct military intervention. This strategic ambiguity is meant to deter China without provoking it, or encouraging Taiwan to declare independence. International law complicates things further. China claims almost the entire South China Sea, overlapping with the Philippines and others. In 2016, An international tribunal ruled against China's claims, but Beijing ignored the verdict. The Philippines has legal rights but not the military power to enforce them. The US has clear obligations to the Philippines but only a vague commitment to Taiwan. China rejects rulings that go against its interests. This legal maze creates confusion and risk. Alliances are shifting and promises are tested. In a crisis, these tangled commitments could trigger escalation. The rules are unclear, and that makes the region even more dangerous. The world is left guessing what will happen next. The Indo-Pacific is a military tinderbox. China's PLA now has the world's largest navy and a modern air force, with missiles aimed at US bases and carriers. Its main goal, prepare to invade Taiwan and keep the US out. Chinese jets and warships regularly test Taiwan's defenses and patrol nearby waters, normalizing their presence. The US and allies aren't passive. US warships conduct freedom of navigation operations, challenging China's claims and reassuring partners. Joint military exercises with Japan, Australia, and the Philippines practice rapid response to crises. The risk-powerful militaries operating in close quarters, where a single mistake could spark conflict. A near miss between jets or ships could escalate fast. The daily show of force keeps everyone on edge. The balance is delicate. One miscalculation could change everything. The region is locked in a high-stakes standoff. Every maneuver is a message. The world holds its breath, hoping the next incident isn't the one that tips the balance. The military buildup continues, and so does the tension. The peace is uneasy and always at risk. The Indo-Pacific's most common conflict isn't open war, it's gray zone tactics. China uses Coast Guard and militia ships to harass neighbors, especially the Philippines, without firing a shot. Water cannons, blockades, and swarms of vessels pressure rivals while avoiding outright war. Taiwan faces constant military flights, cyber attacks, and economic coercion. These actions exhaust and isolate opponents, aiming to win without fighting. Responding is tough. Military force risks escalation, but inaction erodes sovereignty. The US and allies are adapting, boosting Coast Guard presence and sharing intelligence. But China's relentless gray zone campaign keeps the region tense. The status quo erodes, one small incident at a time. How could a crisis erupt? Several scenarios loom. An accident, like a collision between Chinese and US aircraft, could spiral into confrontation. A deadly clash between Chinese and Philippine vessels might trigger the US-Philippines Defense Treaty. China could impose a blockade on Taiwan, daring the US to respond. The nightmare, a full-scale Chinese invasion of Taiwan, starting with missile strikes and cyber attacks. Any of these could escalate quickly, drawing in major powers. Each scenario tests alliances, credibility, and the willingness to risk war. The peace is fragile. One wrong move could change everything. The world's most dangerous flashpoint is always one step from crisis. Leaders must tread carefully. The stakes are nothing less than global stability. The next crisis may be closer than we think. At the core, China and the US have clashing visions. China seeks national rejuvenation, reunifying Taiwan and dominating its maritime periphery. Control of Taiwan is a symbol of power and legitimacy for Beijing. China wants to push the US out and become Asia's dominant force. The US aims to preserve the post-World War II order, open seas, rule of law, and no single power dominating Asia. Washington relies on alliances and forward presence to deter China and reassure partners. The fundamental conflict, a rising power, wants to reshape the order, while the established power wants to preserve it. Taiwan and the Philippines are the front lines of this struggle. Every move is about more than territory. It's about the future of the region. The contest is existential for both sides. The world watches as two giants face off. Can war be avoided? It's possible, but the path is narrow. Restoring direct US-China communication is vital, especially between militaries. Clearer red lines and more space for diplomacy are needed to prevent miscalculation. The US must deter aggression without provoking it. China must weigh the global costs of conflict. Regional countries need stronger defenses and resilient economies. Diversifying supply chains can reduce the world's dependence on Taiwan. Ultimately, war would be catastrophic for all. No winners, only devastation. Avoiding disaster requires restraint, crisis management, and shared commitment to peace. The Indo-Pacific is a ticking time bomb, but it can be diffused. The world is watching, hoping leaders choose stability over conflict.